Hello, third grade, and welcome to our practice labeling a ruler. Now, we are going to first look at how to label a ½ inch, and then we'll look at labeling a ¼ inch. Now, when we are labeling a ruler, you first have to know that the first line is 0. Now, sometimes a ruler will have a line like this, and then it'll write a 0. That is the beginning of the rule. It is not the very tip of it. That would be the beginning. But for this ruler, the very edge is 0. Now we're going to label the ruler by looking at labeling fractions on a number line. So to figure out what this line right here equals, I'm going to look between 0 and 1, just like we have on a number line. So there is 0. And here is 1. Now this fraction right here in the middle would have 2 jumps, 2 hops, 1, 2. So my denominator will be a 2. The total number of hops is my denominator between 2 holes. And how many hops did it take me to get to this point? 1. So this fraction right here is 1/2 an inch. Go ahead and write that out now. 1/2 inch. So if I measured something from 0 to here, that would be 1/2 inch long. But what if I had something that was longer than an inch, but not quite 2 inches, and it landed on this mark right here? It's between 1 and 2. Well, I can apply the same thing. Starting at the whole number, there are 2 hops. So that's my denominator. And I did 1 out of 2 hops. That's 1/2. But it's not actually just 1/2. Since we already passed 1, the fraction is 1 and 1/2. It's 1 inch and a half more. So let's go ahead and write in that fraction 1 and a half. I'm actually going to choose a different color so we can write it all in there. 1/2 is what that mark right there means. Now let's do the same thing to find this mark. Starting at the whole number, there's 2 hops, 2, 1, and it already passed 2. So I write my whole number 2 and then the half. Are you seeing a trend? Let's look at the next one. From 3 to 4, 2, and it's my first hop out of 2 hops, and I already passed 3 inches, so 3.5 inches. What do you think the next mark is going to be halfway between 4 and 5? 4.5. And this last mark would be 6, so it's halfway between 5 and 6. 5.5. So that is measuring to the nearest ½ inch. Go ahead and fill that out now. We're going to move down to the 1/4 inch. The 1/4 inch. So we've already labeled all of the lines in orange. We know that that is a half, 1/2, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, and 5 halves. So what would these smaller lines be? We're going to use the same number line to help us figure out what to draw. I'm going to zoom, oops. So just like the other ruler would start at 0, and this is 1. And I have these marks in between. First thing to find the denominator is I count the hops. There are 4 total hops, so I know in my denominator it's going to be 4. This first one would be 1 out of 2 hops. The second one would be 2 out of 2 hops. And this third one will be 3 out of 4 hops. So I have 1/4, 2 fourths, and 3 fourths. I want you to think about, look at 2 fourths. That is the same as 1/2 inch. They are equivalent fractions. So this fraction right here has 2 names, 2 fourths or 1/2. We're going to have to zoom in to label the rest of the parts. Just like the top, after we pass a whole number, that gets added to the fraction. So again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 hops. So that's in my denominator. This is 1 out of 4, but we already passed 1. So it's really 1 1/4. That line marks 1 1/4 inches. This one would be 1 2/4 inches. 1 3/4 inches. And 2 would actually be 1 4/4. But we're not going to use that because 2 is an easier number. And we restart when we get to the next whole number. Again, there's 4 hops to the next whole number. We've passed 2. So I write down the whole number and then my fraction. This is 1/4. Whole number, this is 2/4. Whole number, 3/4. Go ahead and pause the video and make sure you have that all written out on yours. You may need to zoom in a lot to get it all in. Moving on to 3 inches. So we passed 3 inches, so I'm going to write down my whole number that I passed. Not the one that's coming, the one that has passed. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 1 out of 4 hops. Write my whole number. 2 out of 4 hops. Write my whole number. 3 out of 4 hops. Moving on to the last part. 1, 2, let me get my marker. 1, 2, 3, 4. I passed 4 inches, so write down my whole number and then the fraction. 1/4, whole number 2/4, whole number 3/4, and we've made it to the next whole number. And it all restarts. Hopefully by now you're starting to see the pattern. After you pass a whole number, it repeats 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, whole number, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, whole number. I want you to fill out the last 3 lines. What would those fractions be? Once you are finished with that, you can move on to the next activity for today.